The war had lasted for 300 years. The once beautiful galaxy was now filled with dead worlds and broken fleets. Two sides fought without end: the organized Galactic Alliance and the mysterious Void-born Dominion. Neither side could win. Neither side would surrender. Commander Lisa Blackwood stood alone on the observation deck of the Alliance ship Resilient Dawn. Her dark hair was pulled back tightly, and her uniform showed the signs of a long day. Through the large window, she watched the remains of another destroyed fleet floating in space. Broken ships and frozen bodies drifted silently in the blackness. Lisa had seen this sight too many times before. She remembered when she first joined the Alliance forces 20 years ago. Back then, she believed they would win the war soon. Now she only hoped they wouldn't lose completely. "Commander?" a voice called from behind her. Lisa turned to see Lieutenant Frank Garrison. The young officer looked tired, with dark circles under his eyes. No one slept well these days. "What is it, Lieutenant?" she asked. "We picked up a strange signal," Frank said. "It's coming from outside known space. Science Officer Wells says you need to see this right away." Lisa nodded and followed Frank through the ship's corridors. Crew members moved quickly, performing their duties with practiced efficiency. Everyone knew that standing still too long meant death in this war. They reached the command center, where screens covered the walls showing maps of nearby space. In the middle of the room stood Science Officer Nadia Wells, a brilliant woman who had studied the Voidborn for most of her career. "Commander, listen to this," Nadia said, pressing buttons on her control panel. A strange sound filled the room. It wasn't like Alliance communications or the harsh noises the Voidborn used. This was different, organized but simple. "What am I hearing?" Lisa asked. "It's a message," Nadia explained. "It's being broadcast on old frequencies that nobody has used for thousands of years. Our translation systems barely recognized it. Can we understand what it says?" Nadia nodded. "The computer just finished the translation." She pressed another button. A calm voice spoke through the speakers. "This is Captain Olivia Carter of the EO Earthship Starseeker. We are peaceful explorers from the planet Earth. We have recently developed faster-than-light travel and wish to make contact with other intelligent life. We come in peace and friendship." The message repeated. Lisa, Frank, and Nadia stared at each other in shock. "Earth?" Lisa asked. "I've never heard of it." "It's not in any of our records," Nadia confirmed. "They must be from the uncharted regions beyond the Perseus Arm." The door to the command center opened, and Admiral Gerald Hudson entered. He was a large man with gray hair and a face marked by years of difficult decisions. Everyone stood straighter as he walked in. "I heard we received an unusual transmission," he said. His voice was deep and rough. "Yes, Admiral," Lisa said. "It appears to be a new species making first contact." "Show me everything," the Admiral ordered. Nadia brought up an image on the main screen. It showed a simple spacecraft unlike any Alliance or Dominion design. It was clearly built for exploration rather than war, with large observation windows and external research equipment. On its side was a strange symbol, a blue and green circle. "Their ship is primitive by our standards," Nadia explained. "Their faster-than-light drive is similar to what we used 2,000 years ago. Their weapons are minimal. They would have no chance against even our smallest vessels, let alone the Voidborn." Admiral Hudson's face grew serious. "And they've chosen this moment to enter the galaxy." He shook his head slowly. 300 years of war has turned our galaxy into a graveyard, and these newcomers have no idea what they're flying into." "Should we respond?" Lisa asked. The Admiral thought for a moment. "Yes. These humans need to be warned. If the Voidborn discover them first." He didn't need to finish the sentence. Everyone knew what would happen. In the last 100 years, the Voidborn had found 12 new species. All 12 were now extinct. "Prepare a response message," the Admiral ordered. "Tell them to stay where they are. We'll send an escort to bring them to Alliance space safely." As the crew moved to follow orders, Lisa studied the image of the human ship. Something about its design showed a curious blend of caution and boldness. The ship had basic shield generators but also large windows that would be a weakness in battle. It carried simple weapons, but also extended research equipment that would be damaged in the first moments of combat. They built this ship never having met another species, Lisa realized aloud. They don't know about the war. Their ignorance might get them killed, Frank said. Or it might be exactly what we need, Nadia responded quietly. Lisa looked at her questioningly. Think about it, Nadia explained. Every species in the Alliance has been fighting the Voidborn for generations. Our thinking has become fixed. We've tried the same strategies for hundreds of years and we're slowly losing. These humans will see everything with fresh eyes. Lisa considered this. After centuries of fighting, the Alliance was running out of resources, planets, and hope. Maybe these newcomers would notice something everyone else had missed. Admiral Hudson returned to Lisa's side. Commander Blackwood, I'm assigning you to lead the greeting mission. Take the Resilient Dawn and 2 escort ships. Find these humans and bring them safely to Harmony Point Station. Yes, Admiral, Lisa replied. And Lisa, he added more quietly using her first name, be careful. In all my years, I've never seen a species survive its first meeting with the Voidborn. If they attack while you're out there... I understand, sir. As Lisa left to prepare her ship, she looked once more at the image of the Earth vessel, so small and fragile against the vastness of space and the horrors of war. These humans had no idea what they were entering, yet deep inside, something Lisa hadn't felt in years stirred faintly to life. A tiny spark of hope. The galaxy had been shattered by centuries of endless war, and now humanity had arrived. Perhaps, just perhaps, everything was about to change. 7 days passed before the Alliance ships found the human vessel. When they did, Commander Lisa Blackwood was surprised. The Earth ship Starseeker was even smaller than their scans had shown. It looked like a child's toy next to the massive. Alliance warships, open communication, Lisa ordered, sitting straight in her command chair. The main screen lit up, showing a woman with short brown hair and calm blue eyes. She wore a simple white uniform with a small patch showing the same blue and green circle from the ship's hull. This is Captain Olivia Carter of the Earth ship Starseeker, the woman said. Her voice was steady and confident. Thank you for responding to our message. Lisa nodded politely. I am Commander Lisa Blackwood of the Alliance ship Resilient Dawn. Captain Carter, we came to escort you to safe space. This region is dangerous. Captain Carter smiled slightly. We've noticed your ship's extensive weapon systems, Commander. It seems we've arrived during troubled times. That's putting it mildly, Lisa replied. The galaxy has been at war for over 300 years. The human captain's face showed no surprise, which struck Lisa as odd. Most people would react with shock to such news. We would be grateful for your escort, Captain Carter said. May we send a small team to your ship to learn about your alliance? Lisa hesitated but then agreed. Alliance rules required new species to be brought to Harmony Point Station for formal meetings. But she was curious about these humans. We will prepare to receive your shuttle. 2 hours later, 3 humans stood in the Resilient Dawn's meeting room. Captain Carter was joined by 2 others, Chief Science Officer Paul Martinez, a man with dark eyes and a thoughtful expression, and Security Chief Samantha Collins, a tall woman who watched everything with careful attention. Lisa had brought Science Officer Nadia Wells and Lieutenant Frank Garrison with her. Admiral Hudson joined by holographic projection from his command ship. Welcome aboard, Lisa said formally. Captain Carter bowed slightly. Thank you for your hospitality. We are eager to learn about your alliance and this conflict you're engaged. And Admiral Hudson's projection stepped forward. Before we share sensitive information, we need to know more about your species and your intentions in this galaxy. The humans exchanged glances before Carter spoke. We come from Earth, the 3rd planet in our solar system. Humanity has only recently developed faster than light travel. We sent out exploratory vessels in different directions. The Starseeker was assigned to this galactic sector. And you have no prior knowledge of either the Alliance or the Voidborn? Nadia asked. None, Paul Martinez answered. This is our first contact with non-human intelligence. Lisa studied the humans carefully. Something felt off about their story. They seemed too calm, too prepared for meeting aliens. First contact. Should be shocking. Overwhelming. These humans acted as if they had done this before. Tell us about this war, Security Chief Collins requested. Admiral Hudson sighed deeply. The conflict began 312 years ago when the Voidborn emerged from the darkness between galactic arms. They attacked without warning or provocation. Since then, we've been fighting for survival. The Voidborn? Captain Carter asked. That's what we call them, Nadia explained. They never communicated their actual name. They rarely communicate at all, except to demand surrender before an attack. May we see what they look like? Paul Martinez asked. Nadia activated a holographic display showing a Voidborn ship. It was black and twisted, looking more grown than built. Next, she showed an image of a Voidborn being, tall and thin, with pale skin that seemed to absorb light. Its face had no mouth, only large dark eyes. The humans stared at the image with intense focus. Lisa noticed Paul Martinez's hand trembling slightly. And their combat tactics? Security Chief Collins asked. How do they fight? Frank activated another display showing battle recordings. They prefer hit-and-run attacks. They strike civilian targets as often as military ones. They avoid direct confrontation with our main fleets, instead targeting supply lines and colonies. The humans watched several battle recordings. Lisa was surprised by their questions, detailed, specific, and focused on Voidborn weaknesses rather than their strengths. You said this war has lasted 300 years, Captain Carter noted. That's a very long time for a conflict to continue without resolution. Admiral Hudson's expression darkened. We've lost over 600 worlds. Trillions dead. The only reason the Alliance still stands is because we control more territory than they can conquer quickly. So it's a war of attrition, Security Chief Collins said. Yes, Lisa replied, and we're losing, slowly but surely. The meeting continued for hours. The humans requested access to Alliance historical records, technical specifications, and battle reports. Admiral Hudson was reluctant but eventually agreed to limited access. The galaxy was desperate and these newcomers might provide fresh perspectives. 3 days later, the ships arrived at Harmony Point Station. The massive space station served as neutral ground for diplomatic meetings. Its defense systems were among the strongest in Alliance space. As Lisa walked with Captain Carter toward the diplomatic quarters, she finally asked the question that had been bothering her. Your people are taking all this remarkably well, she said. Most species panic when they learn about the Voidborn. Some refuse to believe the threat until it's too late. Captain Carter was quiet for a moment. Commander Blackwood, humanity has a long history of conflict. War is not unfamiliar to us. But this scale of war, entire planets destroyed, species wiped out. The scale is different, Carter admitted, but the nature of conflict remains the same. Lisa stopped walking. What aren't you telling me, Captain? Carter's blue eyes met Lisa's. Your admiral mentioned that the Voidborn emerged from between galactic arms. Did you ever wonder why they were there? Or why they attacked without provocation? Before Lisa could answer, an alarm blared throughout the station. Frank's voice came through her communicator. Commander, Voidborn ships detected approaching the station. Captain Carter didn't look surprised. It seems we'll have our first encounter with your enemy sooner than expected. We need to get to the command center, Lisa said urgently. As they hurried through the station's corridors, Lisa noticed that none of the humans looked frightened. Captain Carter's face showed concentration. Paul Martinez appeared eager. And most disturbing of all, Security Chief Collins looked almost satisfied. These humans were strange indeed. And Lisa couldn't shake the feeling that they knew more about this war than they were sharing. The command center of Harmony Point Station buzzed with urgent activity. Display screens showed 7 Voidborn warships approaching. Alliance officers rushed to battle stations while civilians ran to evacuation ships. Commander Lisa Blackwood stood with Admiral Hudson, watching the tactical display with grim faces. The station's defenses were strong, but not strong enough for this many void-born ships. "Status report," Admiral Hudson demanded. "7 void-born vessels on approach," an officer replied. 2 heavy destroyers, 5 support craft. Estimated time to weapons range, 16 minutes. "How many civilian ships can we evacuate in that time?" Lisa asked. "Maybe half," the officer said quietly. Admiral Hudson's face hardened. "Launch all fighter squadrons. The Resilient Dawn will move to intercept the void-born fleet." Lisa turned to him in shock. "Admiral, that's suicide." "It will buy time for more evacuations," Hudson replied firmly. Captain Olivia Carter and her human team had been watching silently from the side of the room. Now Carter stepped forward. "Admiral, we might be able to help," she said. Hudson gave her a disbelieving look. "With all due respect, Captain, your vessel would be destroyed in seconds." "Not with our ship," Paul Martinez clarified. "With yours." Carter nodded. "Let Chief Martinez access your defense systems and allow Security Chief Collins to advise your weapons officers." Admiral Hudson hesitated. With thousands of lives at stake, he had little to lose. "Make it quick." Paul Martinez moved immediately to a control station. His fingers flew across the unfamiliar Alliance interface with surprising skill. Meanwhile, Samantha Collins spoke rapidly to the weapons officers, who looked confused but followed her instructions. Lisa watched with growing curiosity. "What are they doing?" she asked Nadia, who was observing Martinez's work. "He's reconfiguring our shield harmonics," Nadia said, sounding puzzled, "making them fluctuate in an irregular pattern." Across the room, Collins was explaining something to the weapons team. "Your firing sequences follow predictable mathematical patterns," she told them. "The Voidborn have likely analyzed these patterns. We need to make them random." "Random?" the lead weapons officer asked. "Yes," Collins replied. "Humans are actually very good at creating true randomness. Let me show you." As the Voidborn ships drew closer, the Resilient Dawn moved to intercept, its systems now modified according to the humans' suggestions. The station's remaining defenses were also reconfigured. "Voidborn fleet and weapons range in 30 seconds, an officer announced. "Admiral," Hudson turned to Carter. "I hope your people know what they're doing." Carter's expression remained calm. "So do I." The lead Voidborn ship fired first. Brilliant energy beams lanced toward the Resilient Dawn. Everyone expected the shields to fail immediately under such an assault. Instead, they fluctuated wildly, causing most of the energy to dissipate in unexpected ways. "Shields holding at 78%, an officer reported, sounding shocked. "Return fire," Hudson ordered. "Use Collins' targeting sequence." The Alliance weapons fired in the seemingly random pattern Collins had provided. The shots struck the Voidborn ship in unusual places, not the obvious weak points they would normally target, but junctions and connection points that no one had considered important before. The Voidborn ship shuddered visibly. Its return fire came more slowly, less coordinated. "It's working," Lisa whispered, hardly believing her eyes. "Now," Carter suddenly shouted. "The lead ship is adjusting its formation. Hit it with everything." Admiral Hudson didn't hesitate. "All weapons, fire on the lead vessel." The combined firepower of the Resilient Dawn and the station's defenses struck the Voidborn flagship simultaneously. For a moment, nothing happened. Then fractures appeared along its black hull. Light poured from the cracks, growing brighter until the entire ship erupted in a blinding explosion. The command center fell silent in shock. In 15 years of fighting, Lisa had never seen a Voidborn heavy destroyer destroyed so quickly or efficiently. Even more surprising, the remaining Voidborn ships began to retreat. This too was unprecedented. The Voidborn never retreated. They fought until destruction. As the enemy ships disappeared from sensors, Admiral Hudson turned to the humans. His expression mixed disbelief with newfound respect. "How?" he asked simply. "How did you know their shields would be vulnerable to fluctuating frequencies? How did you know random firing patterns would confuse their defenses? How did you know when their flagship would shift position?" The 3 humans exchanged glances before Captain Carter spoke. "Because it's what we would have done," she said quietly. I don't understand, Lisa said, stepping closer. Your alliance has been fighting the Voidborn for centuries, Paul Martinez explained. You've developed tactics specifically to counter their methods. But have you ever asked why they fight the way they do? They fight like us, Samantha Collins added. Like you? Nadia asked, confused. How could they fight like humans when you've never met them before? Captain Carter's expression grew serious. Not like humans specifically, like insurgents, like a resistance force fighting against a technologically superior enemy. The Alliance officers stared at the humans with growing confusion. Their hit-and-run tactics, Carter continued. Their targeting of civilian infrastructure, their apparent disregard for territory. These aren't the strategies of a conquering force. They're the strategies of the conquered, Collins finished. A heavy silence fell over the command center. It was Lisa who finally understood first. You're suggesting the Voidborn aren't invaders, she said slowly. You're suggesting they were here before. We need to speak with your full high command, Carter replied. There's something about the Voidborn we believe you don't know. Hours later, in a secure conference room, Carter explained further to Admiral Hudson and the station's senior staff. We studied your historical records and the Voidborn language patterns, she said. There are similarities between Voidborn communication and fragments of ancient script found in ruins throughout the Perseus Arm. Paul Martinez displayed linguistic analysis on a screen, showing the connections. These ruins date back 12,000 years, he continued. Long before the Alliance formed. What are you saying? Admiral Hudson demanded. We believe that the ancestors of your Alliance species may have driven another civilization into the void between galaxies, Carter said carefully. And now, after 12,000 years, they've returned. That's impossible, Hudson argued. None of our species existed 12,000 years ago. Your current civilization didn't, Martinez agreed. But your evolutionary ancestors did. The ruins show evidence of a war of extinction waged against another species. Lisa sat quietly, processing this shocking theory. If true, it changed everything they thought they knew about the conflict. Is this why they never communicate? She asked. Why they destroy without negotiation? Possibly, Carter nodded. They may believe no communication is possible with those who once tried to exterminate them. Admiral Hudson stood up, his face troubled. Even if this wild theory is true, it doesn't justify 300 years of genocide. No, Carter agreed. But understanding your enemy is the first step toward ending a war. And how would you know that? Hudson asked sharply. Carter's answer was simple but chilling. Because humanity has been both the conqueror and the conquered. We've played both roles in our own history, many times over. We recognize the patterns because we've lived them. Word of the human theory spread quickly through Alliance space. Some leaders dismissed it as nonsense. Others saw it as a desperate attempt by the newcomers to seem important. But many were intrigued. After 300 years of war with no end in sight, any new perspective deserved consideration. 2 weeks after the battle at Harmony Point, the Alliance High Command gathered on Sanctuary Prime, their most secure world. Leaders from all 37 remaining Alliance species came to hear what the humans had to say. The meeting hall was grand, with high ceilings and ancient stone columns. The Alliance leaders sat in a semicircle facing a central platform where the human delegation would present their case. Commander Lisa Blackwood stood near the entrance with Admiral Hudson. They had become the unofficial guides for the humans during their stay in Alliance space. Do you believe their theory? Lisa asked quietly. Admiral Hudson frowned. I want to say no. The idea that we drove the Voidborn away thousands of years ago seems impossible, but their tactical insights were correct. Lisa finished for him. Hudson nodded. Exactly. After the battle at Harmony Point, the modified defense strategies were tested by 12 other Alliance fleets. All reported increased effectiveness against Voidborn attacks. The doors opened and the human delegation entered, now expanded to include General Richard Lewis, a lean older man with steel-gray hair who was introduced as Earth's foremost military historian. As the humans took their places on the platform, Supreme Commander Eliza Morgan called the meeting to order. She was tall with sharp features and eyes that had seen too much death. "We are here to consider a theory presented by our visitors from Earth," she began. "While many find their claims difficult to accept, they have demonstrated tactical knowledge that has already saved many Alliance lives. We will hear them out fully before making any judgments." She gestured to Captain Carter, who stepped forward. "Thank you, Commander Morgan," Carter said. "We understand how strange our theory must sound, but please consider the evidence." "General," Lewis activated a holographic display showing what seemed to be Earth's military history. Images of human conflicts through the ages appeared. Primitive warriors with spears, armies with early firearms, modern soldiers with advanced weapons. "Throughout human history," Lewis explained, "we have fought ourselves almost constantly. These conflicts have taught us to recognize patterns in warfare." The display changed to show maps of void-born attacks over the past 300 years. Tiny lights marked each strike, creating a complex web across Alliance space. "Look at this pattern," Lewis continued. "The void-born don't fight like conquerors. When they take territory, they rarely fortify it. When they destroy a world, they almost never colonize it afterward. Instead, they strike, disappear, and strike somewhere else." He compared these tactics to historical Earth conflicts where weaker forces fought against stronger ones. "These are the strategies of a resistance movement," Lewis said firmly. "Of a people fighting against what they see as occupiers of their homeland." Murmurs spread through the assembly. Some leaders looked offended, others thoughtful. Supreme Commander Morgan leaned forward. "You suggest we are occupying their territory? The Alliance has existed for over 5,000 years. The Voidborn appeared only 3 centuries ago." Paul Martinez stepped up next, his calm voice cutting through the tension. "We've analyzed writing found in ancient ruins across Alliance space," he said. "Many of these symbols match elements of Voidborn communication." He displayed the evidence on screen, fragments of script from ruins dating back 12,000 years alongside intercepted Voidborn messages. The similarities were striking. "These ruins predate any current Alliance civilization," Martinez continued, "but they show evidence of an advanced culture that suddenly disappeared. Many sites show signs of violent destruction." Samantha Collins joined the presentation. "We believe that 12,000 years ago, a galactic civilization existed where the Alliance now stands. Something happened, perhaps a war of extinction conducted by the evolutionary ancestors of some Alliance species." The hall erupted in angry voices. Many leaders shouted that this was impossible, offensive, or simply a distraction from fighting the war. Admiral Hudson stood up, his commanding presence silencing the crowd. "I've fought the Voidborn for 40 years, he said solemnly. "I've seen worlds burn, I've watched billions die. Nothing could justify such slaughter." "We agree," Captain Carter said quickly. "Understanding doesn't mean excusing, but it might mean finding a path to peace that has eluded the Alliance for centuries." Lisa observed the reactions around the room. Most leaders remained skeptical, but some were considering the possibilities. Among them was Krell, an elder from the Talasian species. The Talasians were known for their extensive historical archives. "There are legends," Krell said slowly, his voice raspy with age. "Tales past, down before our written history. They speak of a great darkness when our ancestors drove the shadow people into the void between stars. We dismissed these as myths. Perhaps we were wrong." Other leaders began to share similar ancient stories from their own cultures. Legends of conflicts with beings who fled into the darkness of space, vowing to return. For hours the debate continued. Evidence was presented, questioned, and analyzed. The humans answered each challenge with patience and clarity. Finally, Supreme Commander Morgan raised her hand for silence. Her face showed the weight of a difficult decision. "If there is even a small chance the humans are correct," she said, "we must investigate. I propose a bold mission, an expedition into Voidborn territory under a flag of truce, carrying evidence of this ancient connection and a proposal for negotiation." Many leaders objected immediately. Such a mission would be suicide. The Voidborn had never shown interest in communication before. Who would undertake such a mission? One asked skeptically. I will, Lisa said, surprising even herself by stepping forward. Commander Blackwood of the Resilient Dawn Volunteers. Admiral Hudson stared at her in shock but said nothing to stop her. And we will join you, Captain Carter added, standing beside Lisa. Humanity has experienced bridging seemingly impossible divides. Supreme Commander Morgan nodded slowly. Then it is decided. We will prepare a diplomatic vessel. Commander Blackwood and Captain Carter will lead a joint Human Alliance expedition into Voidborn space. As the meeting ended, Lisa found herself standing alone with Carter in a quiet corridor. Why did you volunteer? Carter asked. You've fought the Voidborn your entire career. Most Alliance officers would rather die than try to talk to them. Lisa was silent for a moment before answering. Because if you're right, if the Voidborn were driven from their homes thousands of years ago, then everything I thought I knew about this war is wrong, and I need to know the truth. Carter smiled slightly. That's very human of you. Is it? Lisa asked. Yes, Carter replied. Questioning what you've always believed, risking everything for the truth. That's something humanity has always valued, even when we fail to live up to it. As they walked together, Lisa wondered what would happen if they actually made contact with the Voidborn. After centuries of war, could peace ever be possible? It seemed impossible, but then again, so had defeating a Voidborn fleet until the humans showed them how. Perhaps that was humanity's greatest gift to the shattered galaxy, not technology or weapons, but a new perspective, a way of seeing old enemies with fresh eyes. Preparing for the diplomatic mission took 3 weeks. The Alliance converted one of their cruisers into a vessel suitable for peace talks, removing most weapons and adding clear markings in both Alliance and what they believed to be Voidborn language. They named the ship Olive Branch, an old human term for peace. The humans, meanwhile, had been busy. Earth had sent additional ships after learning about the Galactic War. From these vessels, they constructed a small but impressive craft named Unity. Its design was strange to Alliance eyes. Parts of it seemed unnecessarily exposed, and its communication array was much larger than its defensive systems. Commander Lisa Blackwood supervised the final preparations from the Olive Branch's bridge. The mission would include a small crew of 15, 7 Alliance members from different species and 8 humans, including Captain Carter, Paul Martinez, and Samantha Collins. Are you nervous? Admiral Hudson asked, joining Lisa by the main view screen. He had come to see them off. Terrified, Lisa admitted. We're more likely to be destroyed than heard. Hudson nodded grimly. I've fought the Voidborn my entire life. The idea of talking to them instead. He shook his head. It feels wrong. If we fail, the war continues as before, Lisa said. But if the humans are right, Hudson looked at her with sad eyes. Then we've been fighting the wrong war for 3 centuries. As the Admiral left, Captain Carter arrived on the bridge. She carried a small metal box. Final gift from Earth, Carter explained, opening the box to reveal a simple crystal disc. Our complete history, every conflict, every peace treaty, every war and reconciliation humanity has experienced. If we manage to communicate with the Voidborn, we want them to see that enemies can become allies. Lisa studied the disc. You believe peace is truly possible, after all the bloodshed? Peace is never easy, Carter said. But sometimes the longest wars end not with victory, but with understanding. The 2 ships departed the next day, traveling in formation toward the coordinates Paul Martinez had calculated based on ancient star charts. The journey would take them deep into Voidborn territory, a place no Alliance vessel had ever returned from. Day after day passed in tense silence. They encountered no Voidborn ships, which was both a relief and a worry. Had they been detected? Were they being watched? Or were they simply following the wrong path? On the 12th day, they reached their destination, a region of space the ancient charts marked as Saraki, a name that appeared in several Voidborn transmissions. This is it, Martinez announced from his station on the Unity. If the charts are correct, this area once contained a major void-born world. Scanning, Nadia reported from the olive branch. There's nothing here now, just empty space and stellar debris. Lisa studied the readings. Not completely empty. The debris field has unusual properties. These could be remnants of an artificial structure, perhaps a space station or orbital habitat. Or a destroyed planet, Carter suggested quietly. Lisa felt a chill. Had her ancestors or those of the other Alliance species destroyed an entire world? The thought was horrifying. Begin broadcast, she ordered. The mission plan called for them to transmit their message on all frequencies, including the harmonic patterns Martinez had identified in void-born communications. The message was simple, but carefully crafted. We believe we have discovered the truth about our shared past. We wish to speak. We come unarmed. Hours passed with no response. The crew grew increasingly anxious. We should consider withdrawing, Lisa suggested after nearly a full day of silence. If they're not going to respond. Her words were cut short, as sensors suddenly blared warnings. Space itself seemed to twist around them, and dozens of void-born ships appeared, surrounding both vessels in a perfect sphere formation. No evasive action, Carter ordered her crew quickly. Maintain position. Shields? Lisa asked. Not yet, Carter replied. Let them see we mean what we say. The void-born ships held position, weapons clearly ready, but not firing. Minutes stretched into an hour with no movement or communication. Then a different kind of void-born vessel approached, smaller than their warships, with no visible weapons. It moved directly toward the Unity. They're scanning us, Martinez reported. His voice tense, very thoroughly. Another hour passed before a transmission cut through every communication channel. The sound was unlike any void-born communication ever recorded. It was clear, structured, and obviously meant to be understood. The message was simple. Why have you come? Carter looked to Lisa, who nodded. Together, they transmitted the evidence they had gathered, the linguistic connections, the ancient ruins, the historical fragments suggesting a civilization driven from their homes 12,000 years ago. They ended with a proposal, a meeting between representatives of all three groups, Alliance, human, and void-born, on truly neutral ground. More silence followed. The small void-born vessel remained motionless near the Unity. The surrounding warships maintained their position. Finally, a new message arrived. We will send one to speak. A shuttle detached from the small void-born vessel and approached the Unity. The humans prepared their docking bay while the Alliance crew watched anxiously from the olive branch. The being that emerged from the shuttle was unlike any void-born seen before. It moved with fluid grace, its body seeming to shift between solid and shadow. A translation device hovered before it. I am voice, the being announced through the device. I speak for the remembered. You call us void-born. Captain Carter stepped forward. I am Olivia Carter of Earth. This is Commander Lisa Blackwood of the Alliance. The void-born being studied them both, its large, dark eyes unreadable. For 12,000 years we remembered. For 12,000 years we prepared. We returned for justice, not reconciliation. Yet you haven't destroyed us, Lisa observed. You could have annihilated both ships immediately. Curiosity, the being replied. Your kind has never sought to understand. These new creatures, these humans, they recognized what you could not. Carter stepped forward. On Earth, we've learned that cycles of vengeance only end when someone chooses a different path. The Alliance of today isn't responsible for crimes committed 12 millennia ago. Should that matter? The void-born representative asked. Yes, Carter replied simply. Justice without mercy becomes merely another form of oppression. The being was silent for a long moment. We will consider your words. Return to your territory. If we decide to speak further, we will contact you. It wasn't peace. It wasn't even a ceasefire. But for the first time in 3 centuries, it was hope. As the expedition returned to Alliance space, Lisa found Carter on the observation deck staring at the stars. "Do you think they'll contact us again?" Lisa asked. "I don't know," Carter admitted. "But they listened. After 12,000 years of hatred, they listened." Lisa nodded slowly. "Before you arrived, the Alliance was losing. Another decade, perhaps. Less. And the Voidborn would have achieved total victory. And now? Now, everything has changed." Lisa turned to face the human captain. "When your ships first appeared, we thought you were just another species that would be consumed by this war." Carter smiled faintly. "Humanity has always had a talent for changing the rules. For better or worse, that's what we bring to the galaxy." As Alliance territory came into view, Lisa reflected on the strange twist of fate that had brought humans into this ancient conflict. With the galaxy shattered by centuries of war, humanity had arrived, and the war might never be the same again.